So I am from Galicia, which is in the northwest corner of Spain, right on top of Portugal. So there's a lot of changes that happen in this area. So at some point in history, Galicia was part of the Portugal kingdom, so it was not part of the rest of Spain. Galicia, because it's surrounded by water, had more commerce.
Okay, why the Egyptians looks like that? Like what kind of, like for example, like we are scientists, so we understand that it's epigenetics. What kind of nature actually affects those people to become this way?
It's therapeutic. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I live like next to the beach, and I would just go to the beach and sit there and just enjoy it. Yeah, love that. I think one of the key differences within this generation is attention span and wanting to have shorter bites of information to process. Kind of, related to TikTok. It's just like
TikTok content.
Yeah. So maintaining attention and motivation is the biggest challenge, I think, in this generation and that I'm facing right now in my teaching.
I think one of the highest or like the most valuable skills as humans is not brain, is not intelligence. It's actually adaptability. Hi, how's it going?
Good, very good. Thank you.
Do you feel comfortable for like having this for the first time?
I am comfortable.
Okay.
I'm a little nervous. I'm excited.
I mean, it might be better because we start doing that in the library and you are more familiar with the library because you work here.
Yeah, I work here, so I'm familiar with the building. The library, I was actually thinking while you were set up, I was like, this is a pretty nice place. I don't come here often enough.
You make the students come here often, but not you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with like very simple question. Can you tell us about your background, your journey, how you grew up, your early days in the school and in the university?
Sure, yeah. So I am from Spain. I grew up in Spain. I wanted to kind of always know the why of things. My favorite book when I was growing up was this encyclopedia of the human body and then nature and animals and like how the mountains move and like how the continents fell. And like that was like just crazy to me. And so I was always rereading that. And so I think that's kind of where my whole path comes from of like, I want to know the why of things happen in the body, the diseases, states. And so, when I got to college, I wanted to study. I thought I wanted to do medicine. And in the one application, I didn't get in. And I didn't apply to any others because our family did not have enough resources to go and for me to live in other places where it would be a lot of money to go and study medicine. So the one time I didn't get in, I then decided to go into biology, and I loved that, and so I didn't try again medicine. I was like, no, this is what I want to do. So yeah, that's kind of what.
So you studied like School of Science or like School of Biology?
Biology.
School of Biology.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought that you first, because you are teaching pharmacy students now, I thought that you are a pharmacist, but you're not.
I'm not.
Okay.
That was kind of like where life took me, and this is sometimes I look back and I'm like, I never thought I would be here teaching in a pharmacy school. But when I look back at like why I wanted to study medicine and why I ended up not doing it, it's what I wanted to do was understand why disease happen and how can we fix it. I didn't actually want to be with the patient, or like I get dizzy in a hospital room. Like so the actual practicing of medicine, I don't think I would like it. but I like to fix the things that get wrong in the body, right? So like understanding the mechanisms of medications and how you can fix problems that happen in the body. It's funny that somehow I ended up here, and that's what I've been interested in all along.
That's really interesting. So you finished your school of biology, and then you did like a master's or a PhD directly. What did you do?
Yeah, so the system, in order to do my PhD, I had to do a master's first. And so that's how the system worked. And so that's why I had a master's in biomedical sciences, and then did the PhD as a continuation to that master's. And then I also did a master's in clinical trials, because again, the focus was always into looking at how do we fix problems and how medications can help, how can they evolve to fix existing problems, yeah.
So you did two masters, one in biomedical sciences, that's after you finished your school of biology, and then you got a PhD, and then you did another master in clinical trials while you were here in the US.
I actually did the master's in clinical trials while I was doing my PhD in Spain, both of them.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. So let me ask you this question from the PhD. You did your PhD in, what did you do PhD in?
So my PhD was in the general field of aging, but it was specifically in the redox imbalance in rheumatoid arthritis, arthritis in general, but focused more in rheumatoid arthritis.
And you do this in the University of, which university you did that?
A Coruña in Spain.
Interesting. So, like going to the, because when you do a master's, that's like, yeah, understandable, you want to be more professional in the career, but doing a PhD is more, you want to dig deep in actually what is the why behind the aging of whatever disease you did your PhD in, and the kind of skills you got is huge, and it takes a lot of time. So the question is, what motivates someone, or like you specifically now, to pursue a PhD in health sciences and do it in aging? Like, did you choose to do it in aging or this disease? You have an interest in that disease specifically, or it was like the options that you have?
It was kind of like the options, but there were other options that were great, but I didn't feel like they were as applicable. And so to me, aging is the ultimate why of science, right? Like, or of human health, is how do life starts to wane and
Decay,
things start to go wrong, because aging is the most important risk factor for most diseases, right? And so that's kind of the understanding the forest rather than the trees, is understanding like the whole system of the body and how things start going down, how things start failing. And so I just find that question very exciting and interesting.
Yeah. So again, like when you finish your PhD, you start looking for jobs in US, or what did happen after that?
So while I was doing my PhD, I was, again, saying kind of redox imbalance and how sirtuins can have a beneficial impact. How do we activate sirtuins and some of the specific pathways that are deficient in aging. And so there was this lab in the United States, in Oklahoma, that was doing work in this exact same problem, even though it was not in arthritis, but it was age-related. And so while I was doing my PhD, I spent 3 months in this lab. And so it worked really well. I liked the environment, and I liked the university and the field and the type of research that they were doing. And so when I finished my PhD back in Spain, they offered me the postdoc immediately to go back.
That's really interesting. So that was like kind of internship you do, like most of the people in Spain or the PhD program in your university were doing that, or it's just like an option or an opportunity you take during your PhD?
Yeah, that was an opportunity that I took that it wasn't a very common. Like not many people choose to do that. I just wanted to learn about that technique and that specific question that it was applicable to my research, and so yeah.
It worked
I
out.
thought
Okay.
I thought it was a good idea, and I wanted to go and be in another country for a little bit. So.
So one thing that I have the question for is, what did you experience in this 3 months that makes your decision that you want to work in that environment? What was different between the research or the people or whatever environment? How it's different between Spain or doing PhD in Spain and doing a postdoc in US?
I think the pace, like it was so much more fast paced, and like I can see that we get results so much faster, and I felt much more motivated. I felt more excited about my research. I feel like in Spain, my motivation was starting to wane a little, and this kind of revived my motivation in science and doing research. So yeah, I think it was mostly like the fast pace, and then the environment was great. It was a very diverse lab. There was a lot of Europeans, but in general, the building, like, you have people from everywhere, and I had not been exposed to that before, and so it was like, wow, this is so cool. There's like people from all around the world, and everything is new and exciting. So.
Okay, so that's like the answer that you answered is very interesting, because I heard that from someone who is actually from Egypt. His name is Dr. Ahmed Touhi. He's now a professor, like an assistant professor in Mercer University. We beat them in the football matches, but that's out of the podcast now. However, he did his PhD, his master's and PhD in Germany, and then he did a postdoc in U.S. in University of Washington. He answered exactly the same answer. Like, I asked him what the difference between doing research in Europe and US. He said it's the base. In Europe, they are chill. They are like doing science for the sake of science.
Yeah.
They don't wanna answer the question. They don't wanna publish. They are not competing with each other.
They're not as competitive. Yeah.
But in US, it's like you are competing with everyone. You want to be the first. You want to do it. You want to like push everything to the limits. You want to publish as soon as possible and as good impacted research as possible. So going back to the same answer is like coming from the base, and the base actually influence the competition from for the people to start doing their research, love it, like that thrilling in like getting the new data is here.
Yep.
Okay. So again, about the moving from Spain to US, it was interesting that you love the research and you're gonna do the same research that you were doing, but in a different disease or with different technique that you're gonna do in the postdoc. But what was the cultural difference that you see between Spain and US? You mentioned one of them, which is the diversity of the people. Like, we're in a lab that is from everywhere. You can find different cultures. You can eat different food. Like, it's a lot of stuff. So what are the culture things that you experienced during your moving, first for the 3 months, and second as the postdoc, because that's a new rule?
Right. Yeah. Oof. That can be a whole podcast.
That's
cultural
fine.
Differences and things that shocked me, or probably anybody coming, like switching continents. Spain, Europe is more liberal, I guess. So I think just the political views or things that I did not realize are political, it turned out to be
political.
here, right, noticed that I went to Oklahoma first. And now I'm in Mississippi. So these are states that are very conservative, right? And so things that to me I did not think were political at all, like healthcare. I was kind of shocked to hear people defending this the American healthcare system because it was very counterintuitive to me that anybody would support that. And so it was shocking, but I loved having the chance to understand the thoughts behind ideas that seemed crazy to me. And I was like, oh, okay, I get why you think this way. I get what what your perspective is, which is something that I had not been exposed to. We don't hear that other side of the story, and so I still don't agree in a lot of these issues, right? Personally, but I really liked being able to hear the different perspectives than mine. So I think that's the topic that is most shocking to me, probably healthcare, guns regulation. These are completely different than in Europe, so they are, of course, shocking. And then there are things like, I just like to be in a town that I can walk around and there are sidewalks and there's people on the street, and that was another type of cultural shock that I don't get to experience here as much. Because this part of the country is more car-based, right? Which has its advantages, but that was, I think, my shock.
Yeah, so
in the
you used
day-to-day
to
life.
you used to be in Spain, and Spain is like very have a lot of history as a country and as a people. So basically, you have people in the street walking. Everyone is walking. You have you can go everywhere by walking or by public transportation.
Right.
But here, having a car is a must. It's like no.
Yeah, there's no choice, right? And there's not as many public spaces. This is something that I wish we had more here in the States. Is more public spaces where you just go and, I don't know, go into a library and go into the square and the park and patios where you just sit there to have a drink with friends while kids play. It's a place where I feel like you build more community. So I sometimes miss this here.
So you think, reflecting on that, you think that U.S. is the competitive mindset is actually applied to the culture? Because in Europe or in Spain, specifically, you mentioned that you can actually have sitting in the patio, and then you can talk with friends, chill, and everyone is walking. Hi, how's it going? And that's because that's what we have in Egypt. However, in US, it's more industrial based. Everything is structured in a way that makes people work. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a great reflection on it. I definitely think that influences the fact that here everything is structured to go from your house maybe to a friend's house, but not to the square, and then to work. It's like most of your life is focused on work, and maybe in Spain it's more about living also the rest of your life that is not work, and prioritizing more that outside of work life.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we can talk about these, but what are I want to, sometimes people give me some funny answers. It's not funny, but it's very true. What was one of the difference that I have, and I got that from one of my friends, and I agree on it, because when I first came here, I didn't see any water drain in the bathroom. That was why? Why don't have it? Because in like I think all Africa, or I don't know about Europe, but we have like a water drain in the bathroom.
A water drain.
Yeah, like because yeah, it like you can spill water on the floor, and then you have a water drain, like you can
Just
shoot.
on the floor of the
Yes.
bathroom?
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, we don't have that.
Oh, okay, so like it's more like it's
Interesting.
U.S. and
Yeah.
Europe is like similar to that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, some like I mean that's a kind of answers that.
Uh-huh.
What kind of funny things that you when you came here you find why you don't do that, or like this what away from the political thing of the public health because
Windows.
okay
Like,
yeah
what is
that's
going on with the windows here? Just like making it that they open easier, but windows are driving me crazy. But another thing is the buying stuff.
The
And
buying?
like, yeah, when you go to the store and you don't know what's gonna cost because they're gonna add the tax later. You're like, I wanna know exactly how much it's going to be. Don't tell me that at the end. Or when you have to do math to
yeah it'll be
tape and,
yeah.
and just like, just put it in the price, please.
Yeah, that's one thing that when I came here, I was calling my mother because I came here alone without my family, and then I was preparing some food, and she mentioned to me, you need to get like 1 kilogram of potatoes and half kilogram of tomato, whatever. Like, and then I was like, what is LB? Like, what is a bound? I don't know. And then I have actually to go to like Google and Google it. What is the difference? Like, then okay, how many lbs I need to get a 1 kg? Like I mean
Yeah.
the whole yeah
I still don't know. Like with Fahrenheit and like
Celsius.
distances.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. How much is 16 ounces? Probably a little, but I have no clue. Like, I don't want to do the math. I don't care.
like milliliters. I can like if you give me this, I was like, this is like around 600 milliliters.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean like you can visualize it, the milliliters and the kilograms and the volume. Like, the standard system is much easier to do. So yeah, that was something I experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also actually now one thing that I decided to do, I was trying to okay, now I'm living in the US, I need to get used to the measuring system that they have. I need to understand it, and then okay, I switched my phone to Fahrenheit. I switched my Google Maps to miles, so I can like get used to it. And then after 2 years, no, I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's still like
They should get used to it.
actually, yeah. I was like when I go out, like I was checking the weather and it's like 40. I said, okay, like my brain is understanding 40 is hot, and then when I opened the door, I was like, damn, that's too cold. I was like, okay, then I have to switch to Celsius to know. Okay, that's like 5. I said, no, that's too cold. I need to get a jacket. That's why I was like, no. I decided to switch back to the system
Yeah.
that my brain
Same.
understands.
Same.
Yeah.
I changed back to Celsius. It's like, I can't do it anymore. I tried.
Yeah. So so away from that difference, what like how has your background influenced your choices? Like, do you have some sort of a story that makes you interested in aging? Especially, like, for example, I start doing research in aging, even though I'm a computational chemist now, but I started as a biologist with one of my professors back home. And he was interested in that because he had that kind of question that he want to answer, how to make people live much healthier. And like we had a center of aging and associated diseases back home in Egypt, and I was part of that. I started learning research in it. So most of the time, people start their PhD because they want to answer a question or they have something related to it. So was there like some sort of a story that allowed you to go to this direction?
Not necessarily. I think it's just going back to the realization that aging kind of encompasses everything, right? Aging is more of the forest rather than the individual diseases that are the trees, right? Like many diseases happen because of aging. So if we understand aging first, that is what's going to give us clues to how to prevent some of those diseases. And I mean, I have neurodegenerative diseases in the family, and so of course there's that personal motivation to understand more about what's happening and how we can prevent it. But I think it's just the drive of knowing the why, right? Like, yeah.
That's interesting. So you think like you thought mostly about the holistic, like what is the major question, like what is the forest is talking about. It's not what is, as you mentioned, it's a good analogy. What is every single tree has? What is the problem with every single tree? I need to fix the whole forest, so I need to understand the holistic approach.
Yeah, but to be honest, that is something that I realized when I was already doing the PhD, and I went to this lab in Oklahoma, and we worked on the same pathways in a completely different disease, neurodegenerative diseases versus rheumatoid arthritis, completely different, but the mechanisms are the same, right? So that is what gave me the realization of like, oh wait, this agent is this is what's most interesting, because this is giving us the whole forest. This is giving us like what are the key things that start going down that then lead to a different array of diseases. But a lot of those have a lot of things in common, just the aging process.
Okay, so going to like more personally, like outside of academia, what do you like to do? What's your hobbies?
It depends on where I am. Back in Spain, I love the outdoors. I would, just being outdoors and what's the word for like walking on the
Hiking
on
or
the
not?
hiking? Yeah. Here, the wildlife is different.
It is wild.
It is wild. So I am too scared to be an outdoors person in here. Currently, I'm obsessed with puzzles.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an unhealthy obsession right now.
You
I
like
do
you
a
get
lot of
like big
puzzles.
puzzles, like 1,000, 100,000. You start doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Okay.
have puzzles and building things and like Legos or things like that. And I just like to read also. So it's just like very homey lifestyle, but I like to read a lot.
Okay, interesting. So, let me like following up on that question. If you were not a professor or like teaching people, what was the other profession that you think your qualities or your skills might be better like on? Like for example, for me, I'll be a designer or like a podcaster. I'm not a PhD now.
Absolutely. I would like to say psychologist. I love the idea. I would love to understand, again, kind of the why people behave the way they behave, and like how can help with different aspects of the human mind. But also, I like to think that I have the skills to talk to people and to make them feel comfortable and at ease, or that they can talk to me. So.
I can see that. Like you can, I don't know, like whether you think about starting a different career to be a psychologist, because I can see that in your qualities as a professor, even like when you are talking, even outside of the, like I was taking a course with you, you were like that. Even outside, like I am feeling comfortable to come to your office and like talk about whatever it's like frustrating me. So I can see that in you. That's
Okay.
yeah.
Good. If not, I would be a historian. I like history.
You like history?
No.
Okay. What part of history do you like from Spain? Long history.
Whew. Well, Spain has That's a lot of history.
Yeah, it is.
So I am from Galicia, which is in the northwest corner of Spain, right on top of Portugal. So there's a lot of changes that happen in this area. So at some point in history, Galicia was part of the Portugal kingdom, so it was not part of the rest of Spain. Galicia, because it's surrounded by water, had more commerce with Ireland,
United Kingdom.
France, the coast of France, so like the Celtic nations. So there's a lot of Celtic influence in Galicia. Is one of the Celtic nations, historic Celtic nations. So I think that is super cool, understanding like all the influences that Spain had. I like that. Then a lot of the most recent history, I'm not going to say I like it because it's a very sad and heavy history, but that's the part that I read the most about, and that I feel more connection to the real world and the real consequences of what happened 70 years ago in the Civil War and all that.
That's because one thing that I actually start noticing that when I became old, that I'd like to see it in the like, for example, sometimes I start thinking, okay, why the Egyptians looks like that? Like what kind of, like, for example, like we are scientists, so understand that it's epigenetics. What kind of nature actually affects those people to become this way? Like either, for example, our skin tone, like, yeah, I can understand that because it's sunny there. Like what kind of like shape, why they look like that? Because, okay, we have like this nutrient, we eat that a lot. We eat like a lot of flour or like bread, like, so it influences actually people's body.
Diet and sun. Yeah.
So that's, I don't know, I'm becoming so old. Anyway.
That is so cool. So in Spain, again, Galicia, the northwest corner, gets a lot of the what's the word? The bad weather, the rain that comes from the ocean. South of Spain, sunny. It's more like it's touching Africa is like a lot more dry and sunny and stuff. And so there's this prototype of Galicians like me being much more gloomy and like quiet and related to the weather. And like the weather makes it more like introverted or like not as outgoing. People from the south of Spain, they are known for just like party and joking and like completely different personality types. And I mean, prototypes or they're never completely accurate, right? But there's some truth to it.
Yeah, it is.
I can definitely see it.
I can see the difference. For example, we have that because I'm from the middle of the delta, from like, it's not the middle of Egypt, it's the middle of Upper Egypt. Because we are connected to the land, we like most of the time people are agriculturing. The weather is fine. Like there is not a lot of we don't have snow at all. There is not a lot of rain, and we don't have a sea. We have an Nile, so we are connected to the land. You can see that in people. However, when I visited like cities on the coast, like specifically Alexandria, because it's like connected to the it's a very old city from the Mediterranean Sea, and it was named Alexandria because of Alexander the Great. Like he built it. So when I go there and I start like looking in people's faces, well, like I don't know them. I'm just walking by the sea, and then I was like looking at their faces. Those people are chill, really. Like they are living their life and they have that concept. And I started actually talking with a lot of my friends who are from Alexandria. They have that concept of like, I'm gonna go and talk to the sea. They have that. Yeah, that's a very everyone that I know from Alexandria, just go and I'm gonna talk to the sea. Whatever he has in his heart, it's just his therapy. You just go there, sit. It's a free session. Just go, sit, and like talk whatever you need.
It is therapeutic. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I remember I live like next to the beach, and I was just go to the beach and sit there and just enjoy it. Yeah, love that.
Okay, so that was really nice talk. But switching now to the next section of our episode, it's always about the career and the research, and how you switch it from doing heavy research now actually doing heavy teaching, because it's a way different skill. So, as I see from your publication and your CV and your career, like you covered aging, inflammation, neurovascular functions, and from your publication, it's age-related. How actually those two fields connect to each other? Like doing aging, I know that now we understand that aging is causing a lot of pathology for the different diseases, but like for scientists, what actually it is, without going back and read the papers. Like simply speaking for the public, if you want to make people understand how aging is actually affecting cardiovascular functions and inflammation.
How it's affecting. So, how to explain that without going to the papers? That's a hard question. So, I think that's the realization when I was just like so focused doing my PhD in this in the mitochondrial function and the oxidative stress and whether the electrotransport chain was functioning correctly or not. And so like I was so focused on those little details about oxidative stress, how that can lead to inflammation, that then like again looking more like zooming out, it's like inflammation, oxidative stress, that is the result of life. Right, like our organs or our cells start to produce more oxidative molecules, and that leads to some like chronic low-grade inflammation that then can trigger different responses in different organs and eventually lead to disease. And so, from that perspective, aging is. If you understand aging, you understand that we could extend health span. We can extend the amount of time that a person lives healthy. We're not going to live forever, right? That's not the goal. The goal is to live healthier longer, right? So prevent those age-related diseases. And I think is cool that in the field of aging, there's this big push to consider aging a disease, which philosophically is not. You cannot say aging is a disease, right? But it's a risk factor for so many diseases, right? And so there's this push to consider it a disease because that would allow us to treat it pharmacologically. So that is what the field is pushing, is to, if we consider it a disease, then we can use pharmacological approaches to slow it down and to prevent age-related diseases.
Okay, interesting. I have like a couple of thoughts that came to mind, but the one thing that is intriguing me now is, I even haven't written that in the questions, but it came to my mind now about, now there is a lot of like Jeff Bezos and like there is a lot of people are investing a lot of money, like a lot of money in the aging or the age-related diseases, trying to, I don't know, people on social media are saying, okay, they want to live for a lot of time, but like whatever, like philosophically, are you following that? Like you know what they are doing?
No, not as. I should do that. I should look that up more because I know. Again, I don't follow it much, but I know that is happening. I just don't know exactly how. I remember, there's been experiments when I was still doing research of in mice where sharing young mice blood in old mice blood would cause a rejuvenation effect, right? Because some of the growth factors, some of the factors in the blood from young mice would positively affect old mice. And so I know that's been translated to humans in this type of fields. I don't believe there were any like truly scientific fields, but I know that it led to people buying young blood and transfusion centers where they would just like older people wanted to stay young millionaires and infusing themselves with young people blood. So I'm sure the field has now exploded to what you're saying, but I have not followed and seen what is going on right now.
I mean, that's interesting. That's actually like it can be a movie, like a dark movie, like people like transfecting or like having blood from the young. And for me as a young, I can like donate some blood because I need money and I have the money. So it's okay. That's a dark movie.
Have you seen The Substance, the movie?
No, I have watched Black Mirror, which is more darker. But yeah, that's the. Do you like it? Do you like The Substance?
It was dark. I think it made some great points, philosophical points about aging and our perspective, the human perspective on aging, and especially in women. I'm not going to say that I love the movie because it's dark and weird, but it made some really interesting points. Yeah, I would recommend watching it just because it's different.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's interesting.
Okay, so my list now. So yeah, I switched actually from being like trying to watch the movies that they are okay. Like I love superheroes. Like as a kid, as a boy, like everyone loves it, and like I was like following the DC comics, Marvel, and everything. And now I switch it to be like I enjoyed watching 12 Angry Men, which is like a movie of 12 angry men in one room. They're trying to discuss a case. Everyone is agreeing on the case and except one person. He's trying to convince the whole. It's like that's a very philosophical movie, and it was like I think it was like in the 50s or 60s. Like there is no GFX, like a lot of effects and everything. Just one room with 12 people. That's it. So yeah, I think I'll enjoy that movie.
Oh, okay.
So going to like you have won a lot of grants and fellowships either as a professor or as a postdoc. What do you think? What is the holy grail for that? Because I applied and I didn't win.
Oof. I wouldn't say I got a lot of grants. I'm definitely not an expert on that. I don't know that I had great advice other than just find your niche, what makes you special, right? Like, because it's difficult to be in a field that, okay, this is a very important field. Therefore, this field has funding, right? You want to be in a field that has funding. But that also means that there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of others. So what makes you different than the rest of all those other grant applications, right? So finding the niche, I think that benefited during my postdoc because we were doing aging and it was cognitive degeneration, but we had the vascular component, so like how the blood vessels actually contribute, dysfunctional blood vessels contribute to neurodegenerative diseases, when most people focus on the neurons itself, right? So I think finding the what makes your research special and truly believing in that, that would be, but the philosophical approach, then I don't know that I can give any. I'm not the most experienced in that. You have a lot of people around here that are a lot better at like writing grants and getting funding here.
Okay, but I can see that like philosophy is a very big part of your thinking, even as like movies or like your research, or now you are like talking about like how to be having your niche. So do you think, like, do you believe, or at least if you are a person who is trying to evaluate a different grants and give one or two of them money to pursue that, do you think having a philosophical mindset in writing and in approaching to the idea will make it more niche, or like make it more appealing for the reviewers to be?
I would definitely hope so. Yes, because I think sometimes people again get so focused on the details that they forget to say, why does that matter? Okay, you're going to do all this, but for what? What is going to be the end result? What is the forest here? So I think when I get to read the philosophy behind it and what is the expectation and what makes this more innovative, more relevant than your competitor, I think so, yeah.
Okay. Let's say that you have unlimited resources. You can go, like, that's a question actually Dr. Ashpool asked in one of her lectures of pharmacology, that one of the question was like, if you have an unlimited resources, how can you answer that question? And I mean, one of the examples she gave us was, I'll do this experiment on the moon. I was like, yeah, okay. You can do that. But if you have an unlimited resources, what is the question that intrigues you most? Either from aging or other question, like might be a historical question, a philosophical question. What kind of question you will invest in all of these resources?
So now my focus is on teaching, and of course aging is still like the philosophical question, but to have it more applied to my day-to-day problems that I see that I want to fix, I think it would be something related to learning and how people learn, and how is that different, so that can we create an adaptive learning model? Do we have the AI technology to understand how individual people learn? Can we do fMRIs? Can we follow brain function while they learn, and see how is that different between students, so that we can identify what path is better for that individual student? Because this is the frustration as a teacher right now, is we are teaching for a whole class the same way, right? And not all of them have the same needs. Not all of them are going to learn the same way. And so how can we individualize our teaching to the learning needs of each student? That's what I've been thinking lately.
Interesting, because I mean, 20 years ago they start thinking about the personalized medicine, but now you're thinking about personalized teaching.
Yeah,
You can
you
can adapt
that,
that terminology, and like, okay, you can sell it now. But interesting. But like that goes to the next next part, or like next part of our episode, which is about teaching. How you switch it, like when did you know that you are a good teacher or you want to do teaching?
I remember thinking about it and saying, oh, this is what I want to do when I was in college. But then looking back, I think that's something that my personality kind of always tended towards. Like I always did good in school, and so I like to help my classmates understand some things, right? And the fact that to me is so fascinating, understanding the why of things. When I get to help others, also be like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, wow, yeah, that's that's something that I've always liked. So
It's the wow moment for you. Like you feel so important when you make someone understand why.
yes, yes, absolutely. So now I have sometimes students that missed a question on the test, or they're struggling to understand something, and when I get to talk to them and explain things in a different way, and when they say those words, it's like, oh, that makes sense. I get it now. It's like, oh, I feel so good. Yeah.
Okay. So when you understand, like you have that skill from early days, either in like university or like after that doing masters or the PhD. But when did you start taking real steps into being a professional in that?
That was during my postdoc. During my PhD, I as a grad student, I taught some like lab, sessions, but it wasn't really as much as of a professional development. But when I was doing my postdoc in Oklahoma, I did this Preparing Future Faculty program from the School of Pharmacy at the University of Oklahoma, and it was led by Dr. Melissa Medina, and she was the one that made me see the science in teaching and learning, and kind of gave me the skills to understand that is like teaching is not just telling people facts, right? Is there's a science behind it, and there's some good practices, and there's some research still happening. We are still trying to understand how people learn best, what are the best ways to teach, and so that's where I got most interested. With Dr. Medina.
Interesting. Talking about like the techniques now, I didn't know there was a techniques. I thought there is a good teacher and a bad teacher. That's it. I don't really get it. What are the actually teaching approaches that is known now? Like now you are very interested in teaching. You are even teaching people how to teach, which is like, it's like really
full circle.
So now the question is, what are the different teaching techniques that is thought to be more effective with different generations? Because now I think that's a very big question. I'm from a millennial generation. There is a Gen Z generation now. There is Gen whatever, Alpha, Beta. I don't know the names now.
Yeah.
But there is different generations, and how they understand or learn is different.
Yes. So that's a great question. And it's hard because, if I have to choose something, simple answer is active learning, right? Like you have to help the student process what they're learning. It cannot be passive. It cannot be just listening or just watching a video. It has to be active. They have to do something with that learning. And so depending on your field, you would kind of try and solve a problem, like in pharmacy. Okay, let's give you a case study. What would you do in this situation? So application and thinking about what you're learning about, that is the key, right? Now with different generations, how does that apply? I think it still applies, but the actual format of how you do it might be different. I think it's just too early yet to have any evidence-based response, but from my own feelings and observations and hearing other people, I think one of the key differences within this generation is attention span and wanting to have, the information in their face, shorter bites of information to process. Kind of, related to TikTok. It's just like,
TikTok
give me,
content.
yeah. So maintaining attention and motivation is the biggest challenge, I think, in this generation and that I'm facing right now in my teaching. And so I just keep adding active learning. I just keep adding ways, more frequently, maybe shorter, but more frequently ways to make the content relevant to them, so that they want to keep watching, they want to keep scrolling.
Yeah. Interesting. So, there is one question that came to mind, which it's a philosophical question that came to my mind about. I don't remember I was having that attention span during my undergrad, but I might be biased because I didn't know that I have a problem in attention span at that moment. But now I'm a little bit older, so I can see people having attention span problem. But then I think my professor might have the same problem for me. I have small attention span, right? So do you think, the question that came to my mind is, do you think those students who are at Gen Z now, let's say they are in college, when they became older, they will prefer to have a long content? They would prefer to, because when you became more mature, for example, when I was a kid, I was reading small box. I want to go to the end really fast because I know what is it about. But now, for example, you and me, we are enjoying having the journey. I need a big book that I can understand every aspect of the characters, because you start enjoying that other than enjoying the results. So do you think that these generations eventually will reach to that point, or it's going to be a problem that is now it's imprinted in their genes? I mean, it's just that's
that's a great question. I want to say that yes, they'll mature in a way that they'll enjoy the journey, but I don't know. I don't know, because we've never had, growing up, we were not in this environment. Social media was not a thing. This overwhelmingly large amount of distractions were not a thing. So the result cannot be the same as us, right? But I don't know. I wanna be optimistic and think that even if it's not the same process and same result for them, they would still have the strengths of being able to identify what is important within all of those distractions. And I don't know.
Because what that came to my mind also, because I can see now, maybe because also I'm a bias to my generation. I'm watching the content of my generation. A lot of people now are switching to the podcasts. The podcast business is going so it's rocketing up, because people, I don't know, I need to go back to the data to understand who are the people that are actually watching these content. Because Mr. Beast content, I didn't know that. I thought that he's a scam. At some point of my life, 2 months ago, I didn't know him until he made an episode about being in the pyramids for 100 hours. And I was like, okay, I was in the pyramids. I need to know what he's gonna do. And it was one of the videos that I was interested to see because of my culture. That's thing that I'm interested in. And when I go and watch that, he is a beast, because he keeps my attention with him 20 minutes. My kid was talking to me and I told him, just watch. I really want to know what's going to happen. So do you think taking that skill from like learning from the creators now to be a teacher the same way
Yeah.
might help. Like this is so the new teacher or the new, like I don't know what we'll name and them was like yeah, wake teachers now will be those who will be able to grab the attention and keep that attention with them, with the students the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna do that. They might dance, they might do whatever, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I heard someone said like the best way to start a class is now for this population would be this is what medical experts don't want you to know.
Yeah.
And so they were like, that's how you grab their attention. Right? So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot that we can copy from creators to keep students engaged and motivated and attentive. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll try to do. That's a project that I want to like go and dig deep on.
Yeah. I'm getting some great ideas here.
I'm happy to talk about it. So, like, yeah, we have talked about the challenges, but let's say that this question might be more beneficial for professors or teachers who are trying to grab again the attention. What kind of strategies you do, like an actual strategy you do to keep the students' attention? And do you have? I'm not gonna say that you have data for, but do you have like a glimpse that you think this might work for the teachers or the professors?
So things that I do to keep attention or to keep attention, it's this is a silly thing. I teach pharmacology, right? And so like about drugs and how they work. And so when we have some popular medical shows, it works very well to bring the students engaged, to put some clips of very well known, like Grey's Anatomy, and like when this guy had a
Dr. House.
yeah, exactly. So when you put something that it's like makes them, laugh, or makes them like understand something that's on TV, or evaluate from a now professional perspective what they might not do right on TV, or what they do right on TV. They like that, they enjoy that. So that is to kind of grab attention and make it more memorable. Then to enhance understanding, I think that our field and STEM, it's sometimes very abstract, right? Like we can't see ourselves
Where
working,
is the
right?
nucleus? What is that?
Exactly. So using visuals, it's what I rely the most on. Like they need to see the pathways. They need to see how this affect the other. And to my benefit, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies have actual great animations on the mechanism of action of their drugs. And so I sometimes refer to those videos, and those are ways for the students to see what feels too abstract to understand.
Question that also interests me, like I have an interest in, is how, like you start mentioning it with it, which is how AI, like how can we use AI to make things more personalized? But I have another direction of that, which is how, like, because that's always like for me, sometimes I was taking the class and I was preparing the questions, and then I start thinking they can use AI to answer that question really easy. And as a teacher, what I have learned is you don't want to make it hard. You just want to make them think about it. So how do you think professors or educators or like whatever we name them the people in the industry, teaching industry, how they are adapting to that now? To like, because the questions can be answered easily with ChatGPT, Cloud, DeepSeek, whatever. How can we like overcome that?
Those resources are going to be available, right? Like something
They
really
are
big
there
has to
and
happen.
forever, yeah.
For them not to be available in the future. So they're going to use it. I think all we can do is have the students understand why they need to practice their own thinking, right? So that they want to do it instead of going to ChatGPT, right? Like I tell my students, use ChatGPT to create example test questions, use it to study, take advantage of it. It's a tool that can help you in so many different facets, right? But right now, what we're doing is training your brain to understand this, because when you understand this, then you'll understand what the other thing happens, what this adverse effect happens, and whenever you have a new drug, potential drug, if you know how it works, you're like, oh, if it works this way, maybe it can cause, right? It'll give you the tools to think. And so unless the students are convinced that they want to have that skill,
Yeah.
So I think what I always try to emphasize to the students is this concept of metacognition, is why we're doing what we're doing. How is this helping your learning process? This is not busy work. This is not something that, it's gonna take me so long, so I'm just gonna put in ChatGPT. Like, no, I'm doing this because this is going to help you understand this and that, right? So I think it's just making the students aware of why we do what we do.
But don't you think, again, also, like, because I think I have watched like a documentary about that from Educator. I think it was a Vox. I don't remember, but it was a documentary about like how assessments now should be modified. It's not, and I think this was like last year or the year before. That was like the starting of the AI booming. Like it's rocketing. Everyone is using it. Everyone is writing papers with it. But now everyone understands. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. The peer reviewing eventually came to the idea that this is not correct, and like your paper will be rejected because it's not because it was written by ChatGPT. Because it's nonsense. First of all, like that's the criteria. So one thing that came from one of the educators was that it's now who is pro with the AI, use of AI. He thought that we should start modifying our assessment tools to like allow students to answer not using AI. So the AI cannot answer it. It's not like, for example, one of the questions that I have, like the mention was, what's your opinion about it? And make it related to your life. Because ChatGPT doesn't know your life. So you need to do it like you feel connected and you feel that I need to tell my story. You can now use ChatGPT to modify like the way of writing it, which is fine. Everyone is using it now for rewriting. But the story and the idea is coming from you. For example, I asked him, like, I most of the time asked him to correct my code. But the code is in my mind, like, I mean, like, because we work in the computational area. So I have the code, I have what I need to measure. He's not telling me what I need to measure.
Right.
I'm telling him I need this, this, this. I write a draft, and then I ask him, okay, provide me, like, fix this code or do something. So do you think that's a good idea, or like the pharmacy teaching is moving towards that?
That is a great idea. I think it's just difficult to execute. If the students don't see the benefit of doing it on their own, there's always workarounds to still use ChatGPT, right? It's I see your example. It's a great example. Use something that is from your life. But I, as a professor, also don't know your life, right? So you can tell me whatever. I'm going to believe it, right? So Yes, I've thought about it a lot, and honestly, it's hard to come up with any assessments that are bulletproof. What tells me what the students understand is when I get to talk to them, and we have a conversation. And other than that, I don't know that there's any great assessment. But pharmacy is moving to using things like ChatGPT to answer a case study, for example, and have the student answer it as well, and then compare both results and find what are the benefits of one approach versus the other, or find mistakes in the response given by ChatGPT. So making it part of the learning process is evaluating the validity of what AI has given you.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I do like that idea, and you can see that it does make important mistakes, but it might not in the future. Right? It might get better to where like no, I cannot find any mistakes. So
I mean, at that point, I think humans are smart enough to find a way, because I think one of the highest or like the most valuable skills as humans is not brain, is not intelligence. It's actually adaptability. I think because like we are all humans. In Africa, there are humans, Asia, Europe, US, Australia, whatever. They also have kangaroos, but anyway. Like they are the same people. They came from the same origin. They came from the same genes. And like the way that they were created is they have that skill of adaptability. Like the skin can be adapted to the place that you were in.
Yeah.
Like the lungs can be adapted to where you are, like on mountains or like down like in, I don't know, like the small place, or like near to the ocean or away from it, desert or like Greenland. So that's why I am always having that optimistic idea that we will find a way. We have found ways, like, yeah, in every kind of situation that happens before. So adaptation is gonna be our main tool to like start, like keep evolving and keep getting things better and much easier for us. So I hope that's.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back, I have like a question, because in Egypt, for example, we teach pharmacy in English. So do you do that in Spain, or like you do it in Spanish?
It's in Spanish. There are some universities that are European university where there's more English, but most of the time it's Spanish. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you switch it, like from teaching, like already, like even understanding and communicating science in Spanish, and like now you're doing it in English?
Yeah.
Was it difficult at first, like to find the terminologies, or to like I don't know, like I can't talk Spanish, but I know there is a lot of roots or relation between Spanish and Arabic, how they like you build the sentence, how you do it. So have you find like difficulties or challenges when you are switching?
The challenge usually just comes from speaking. But knowing the words and understanding the vocabulary, even though it is not taught in English, all the research papers that we read throughout, they're all in English, right? So the vocabulary we have. But sometimes I go to pronounce it, it's like, oh, I actually only read this word. I never actually heard it. So I have no idea how to pronounce this. But yeah, other than that, I think just because science is the official language is English and science, it's been okay. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. But like I want to move from that you are teaching now pharmacy in Spanish for students here, because there is a lot of Hispanic people, like either from Mexico or like South America. how, like, do they benefit from that? Like, is it much easier for them, or you are creating a barrier for them because they should be teaching it in English? You know what I mean? Like, my question is, if you want someone to evolve, you need to teach him this knowledge in English, because over time they should be reading it in English. But now you are teaching it in Spanish, which is helping them go to the barrier. But also philosophically, it might be creating another barrier because you are keeping teaching them in Spanish.
And by them, you mean the students?
The students, yeah.
Well, everything is in English
Okay.
here, right? And so what I'm doing is teaching them how to communicate basic pharmacy information to patients that do not speak
Okay.
English. Yeah.
So it's not pharmacy in Spanish. It's actually how to communicate in Spanish.
Yeah.
Even though they are English people, like they are taking everything in English.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
These are English-speaking students that are they are in pharmacy school, and they want to be able to communicate with patients that don't speak English, because this is, is a problem in the U.S. that has a big Hispanic population, and a fraction of them do not yet speak English. And so there's this barrier in healthcare that is dangerous, right? Like they might not get the treatment that they need. There's a lot more opportunities for medication errors and not adherence to their medications. And so medical schools have had medical Spanish forever, I think. Like I don't like it's a very common class to have in a medical school, is prepare your physicians to be able to talk to Spanish-speaking patients. But in pharmacy school, that's not been as common. A small percentage of pharmacy schools offer any Spanish class. And so that is interesting because in the US, people that don't have insurance, or just even if they have insurance, but it's still expensive to go to the doctor, right? So pharmacists are going to be the easiest healthcare provider to go and see, and it's not going to cost you money. And so if somebody needs healthcare and they go to the pharmacist and they don't have any way to speak to the patient, then like we are preventing healthcare that can be essential. Like I've had, and the students tell me, right, like when they get patients that only speak Spanish, they have no way of communicating with them. Either there's a person in the pharmacy that when they're working, they go and call them and they speak a little bit of Spanish, and so, but when they're not working, then we can't help you, you know? And this is a whole topic of conversation, right? Because there's some laws that should force pharmacists to offer or to have available a translation service, because language barriers are considered discrimination. But in reality, in the practice, those tools are rarely used in a pharmacy. So, yeah, the students, so far, I've only had great experiences. They like it. They see how useful it is, realize that most of the students that we have in the School of Pharmacy, they are already working in a pharmacy as an intern, right? So they're already having the experience of being in a pharmacy and not being able to communicate to their patients, wanting to give a vaccine, wanting to ask, have you had any reaction before to a vaccine? And not asking it because they can't, right? Like that is dangerous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love this class, and I love that students are interested in taking it. And
I mean, it's really, really, really important, because even though you have a translator, like, or someone who can speak in Spanish, but he might not understand actually what his allergy is.
Also,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, you need someone with a science-based and science Spanish language that can actually translate that into public or like Hispanic population to make it safe, because safe now is the main word to think about. Like, I need to make it safe for him or her.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. The most common form of translation that people who don't speak English would use many times is their kids. They bring their kids to the doctor or to pharmacy, and they translate for them because the kids were born here and they speak English perfectly. But it's a kid. There's the ethical component, and then there's the pure language component that they might not know the medical terms that are used. They might not know what the implications are or how to translate what they're saying.
Yeah.
And in a hospital, you're going to have a translator. You're going to have a dedicated medical translator. Again, like, to be safe, right? But in other places where you might not have a translator, then that's where it's good to have some language competency.
Yeah. That's really important. Understanding that. I thought that you are teaching the actual pharmacy in Spanish.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. So, in your opinion, how do you think universities can support professors or faculties who want to innovate in their teaching? I know that most of the students, most of the universities, especially the R1 universities, are supporting research because they want to get more fund from NIH until now. But what about teaching? Like, how they can support them in teaching?
Many universities have, just like we have here, the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. And so they provide faculty development to, in any item of teaching, right, and in different aspects. So I think that route is helping faculty to grow in their facet of teaching. But then this year I went to a AI workshop, AI Institute here, and I thought that was amazing. That was very good, because the issue that we see now is there's the amount of information that we have and tools that we have is overwhelming. I cannot learn about every possible thing that I could be doing differently and better, right? And so having that support from the university to say, here's some AI tools that we've tried and we saw working, and this is how they can be helpful for you. That was very helpful. I love that support in faculty development. Yeah.
That's good to know. One big aspect that I see from you, like, affecting students, either pharmacy students or grad students from the department, is mentoring or mentorship. So my question, you are actively involved in that. How do you look for students, like, or what do you look for them? Like, what are the qualities that you wanna, most of the time you wanna make it better in them? Like, for example, if you are one of my mentors, what is something that you think that this is, if I teach him this thing, I'll be proud of that?
So many things, right?
Yeah.
When I'm mentoring about teaching, I want the students to see themselves as a coach rather than a lecturer, right? That would be my goal in mentoring students that want to pursue academia and teaching. But as you said, like, sometimes I mentor in different capacities. The pharmacy students that I mentor turns most of the time is like, how can I help you be successful in pharmacy school? So to do that is like, what do you excel at? And what are the weaknesses that we can work on, right? And so it just depends on the student. A lot of the times, what I've noticed or what made me feel more proud is for them to get the self-confidence, right? Getting confidence in their own abilities. That is the first step, because many times they get here and they are overwhelmed. They don't think they're able to do this. They come from maybe high schools that the standards were lower and did not prepare them to such a high amount of information to learn, and so they get overwhelmed when they get here. And so having them realize that no, they can do this. That we can do this. Then motivation. Is the very first step drives students.
So to summarize that, for grad students, you think that teaching is one of the biggest skill, or coaching as a teacher, that's one skill, and for undergraduate is actually help them find their way into the school, or like to have that barrier, because that was a barrier for me. I came from a small village, I went to a big university, and then I was like, I don't really understand anything.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna fail in that. So yeah, there were some professors that they were helping in that, and also my colleagues.
Yeah.
They helped me with this. So like from that, like, can you share a success story? Like, there is someone that you helped him, and then he graduated, or a grad student, you helped him to be a good coach or a mentor, and then he became a really good one, and you are proud of.
Yes, there's like the perfect example. So Dr. Ashpole's grad student, Silas Hayes, he worked with Dr. Ashpole, her grad student, and I just mentored him on scientific writing. That was one of those things that, he excels at so many things, but writing was not the strength, right? So like we took some time to work on scientific writing and the best approaches, and he graduated. He's now a postdoc at Stanford, he's doing amazing. He's involved in so many things. And this summer, he's coming back to Ole Miss to do a workshop to grad students and faculty even on, everything related to research, including writing grant applications. So it's like, I was like the full circle. Maybe we were proud that, I contributed to a little part of his success, including the writing skills. So
That's really interesting, because I have some conversations with him about after he got the F-31 grant, which is it's not big grant, but it was big because it have not been in Ole Miss for years.
Yeah.
He got it as a student. It was huge, and the way he communicates science is interesting. So that was one of the. I'm always searching for someone who I can learn, even though not about science, but about the way that he do science. It may be about the way he think about it. That's why I'm always interested in the seminars, even though sometimes I don't understand the science, but that's a good way to represent the data.
Explain it,
Yeah. So I'm really curious about that. I already applied to attend his lectures. Yeah, and it's really good to see the full circle coming back. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was so funny.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of him.
Yeah. So one of the last questions that we have is if you would like to have dinner with someone or scientist, who's gonna be?
It's gotta be Dr. Fauci.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think it's interesting to have him?
Huh?
You think it's interesting because the COVID and everything?
Yeah, I mean, he's an educator. He's been in so many facets involved in health in general, right? Like director of the NIH Institute of, so has the ability to teach, has the ability of doing incredible research, and is a friend that works for him. And all I hear is it's as positive as what I can see on TV. Like he is just as nice and approachable as it looks on TV. And just having the experience working with people that might not understand what you do, and being in charge of public health when there's so much going against you, I think that's an experience that not many people has had, at least in recent history.
Yeah. That's really interesting choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like in a hard time
Yes.
in US history, and it's like, if it was someone else with, I think one thing that he helped, like, I was not here that much, or like was not involved with that much, but his positivity have been transferred to people, like to everyone, educated and non-educated, like to everyone. We will face this, we can do it, we're already doing this. He is communicating science to public really efficient. So I think it's a really good choice. I'd like to be like sitting in that conversation.
You can come.
One last question that we ask it for most of our guests is someone that you would like to listen to his story, and we can actually approach to him and like have a conversation with him like this one. Whom you gonna be suggesting to me or like to the podcast?
From here, have you talked to Dr. Rimaldi already?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I think Dr. Rimaldi would be a fantastic choice. And we've talked about it in teaching. His listening to him, I don't know if it's just natural skill. He's learned how to communicate in a way that just keeps you captivated, right? And keeps you like
He's
engaged.
a good content creator.
Yes, yes. So kind of understanding it. And I love to hear his perspectives in multiple things, because the way he thinks, and he has such valuable perspective in, everything that is going on at school in many different levels, right? Whether that's research or curriculum or pharmacy education.
Yeah.
I would love to hear his story, how he got here, and learn more about it.
Interesting. Thank you so much for having that conversation. I enjoy it so much. I hope that you enjoyed it also, and we will
Yeah.
enjoyed it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. It was awesome.